Now, if you've been following my DIY projects for a while, you'll know that one of my favourite saws to use is a compact saw. Well, why struggle with something heavy if you don't have to? Which is why this week I've teamed up with Dremel because they've launched a new line of tools called the Dremel Blueprint. And I'm particularly excited to use their new portable saw station with a compact saw. So much so, I've been saving up a load of jobs on a snagging list to try and test out all the different cuts. It essentially looks like a workshop in a box, which I should be able to set up easily on a kitchen table or coffee table. Oh, and I'll also be trying out the new multi-drill with built-in stud finder and detachable laser level, which looks very handy for stud walls, ceilings, and general woodworking. So let's take a closer look and see how they perform to my snagging list. Actually, I'm going to open the drill first because I think I'll be spending a lot of time talking about that. I'm curious how heavy this is. You know, it's not as lightweight as I was expecting. And what I mean by that is it feels very good quality so far and very robust. I want to know how much it weighs. So with the battery, it's just over 1 kilogram. So it's about 500 grams less than my usual combi drill. Anyway, I'll have a play with that in a minute. But there is the stud finder. And I believe this is the laser level. But I'll check that out. I first need to read the manual. So a quick rundown. It's got some torque speed screw settings there from 1 to 21, but it jumps. You've got a few in between those. And then you've got drilling there. You've got a couple of places here to attach some bits. Speaking of bits, let's have a look in the rest of the box. So we've got our battery charger, a multi-purpose drill bit. So to put the drill bit in, I'm pulling this towards me, pushing the drill bit in, letting go, and that's it. That's exactly like my SDS hammer drill. So there's no twisting and it locks in place. And to release it, I should pull that forward and take it out. Nice. There's also a USB-C cable in here, which I believe is for the laser level. Yes, perfect. There's some putty in here as well, and that is so you can stick your laser level to the wall and adjust it. That should be reusable. Oh, some more bits. So quite a few different varieties there. Posi, flat, Torx. So I may as well charge this up while I open the other box. Green light flashing. So what really drew me to this compact saw is the extra functions it offers. The fact that it gives you extra options to do mitre cuts straight from the box. I've never seen anything like this on the market until now. It's feeling a sturdy box, and because it offers a work surface area, I definitely want to look after this. Another QR code to make my life easy. Hi, welcome to my Dremel. I'll be registering that later. So first thing I see are tracks here, and those are for my clamps. So you can clamp down a piece of wood. That actually doesn't feel too heavy, because the thing that I can't stand about big circular saws is they're very heavy, and sometimes DIY is hard enough as it is carrying all the materials. So I just prefer something light and nippy to use. The battery is already in there. So I am going to take the battery out before I start exploring this more. And we have a charger, so I'm going to charge that up. I can change the depth of the saw. So I'll be changing this depending on the thickness of my wood. And there is the Allen key, so I don't lose it, so I can change the blade whenever I want. Also, the blade is 85mm in diameter and offers a 25mm cutting depth away from the saw station and 23.5mm thick on the saw station. But we'll test that out shortly. There's also a little screw clamp there and a slot, so that's for a tracking guide to clamp. That's if I want to do any bevel cuts. There's a dust hose adapter here, so I'll be trying that out. Oh, a few little guides there as well. So obviously we'll be talking about this soon, but it does a cross cut, a bevel cut, a rip cut, and a mitre cut. So this bit comes up, then I can pull this out to extend the work surface, push it down, and this little whiteboard area looks very useful for the times when I need to write down any measurements before I forget them. So you've got two little clamps. You can never have enough clamps. And these should just slot in the tracks. And I can put my wood in and then tighten it. This one opens as well. Now let's take that out. And then if I pull that out, it becomes a mitre saw. There's so many things hidden away that I keep missing them. So I'm going to take this out now. And you've also got a measuring guide here as well. First thing I noticed about this immediately is this feels robust. The amount of times these have gone on the wonk for me and then I've done just not perfect cuts. I've had to physically straighten a few of them. And this, as simple as it sounds, I can tell that they've really thought about this, because when you are cutting pieces of wood, particularly really long ones, you've got to worry about supporting it. And I've reached for offcuts of wood, books sometimes. It's exactly the same height as the actual surface. Simple, but genius. So you've got a little track here and your saw slots in there, but it rests on this bit. So this is like a track saw. I've got 0 degrees, so if I want to do a straight cut, I'd leave it in that position and cut. If I want to change it to a mitre cut, a 45-degree cut, because I will have to during this project. Actually, I'm going to fast forward here to say the maximum cut is 46 degrees, not 45. So you do need to check it and listen for the click before tightening up if you want to do accurately square mitres. You'd have your piece of wood that way, and then I can just do my mitre cuts. And there's a notch for 0 degrees as well for accuracy. Another thing I've just noted is for the bevel cut, the saw station's got an angled groove below. So this is where any compact saw would have limitations, is on the bevel cut, because obviously it's a small blade as it is. So I believe I wouldn't have been able to use this for 18mm thick skirting board, but I would have done with 15mm, and that is where these risers come in. Again, we'll check that out later. So before I start jumping in doing loads of test cuts on anything that I can find, this time I've agreed to read the manuals first. I hate manuals. So the manual's all read, but before I use it properly on my projects, I want to quickly have a look in my Offcut wood store and do some tests. So I found some sacrificial pieces of wood in a variety of different thicknesses. This is 18mm, and I'm going to quickly test the cross cut. And I'm clamping only on the cut that I want to keep, because I don't want to add resistance on the other side and then get kickback. Oh, and the protractor also acts as a fence. Goggles and ear defenders. So, laser guide. This definitely beats hand sawing, especially when accuracy matters. Yeah. So we're going to try the 45 next, and you'll notice my offcut end is pointing furthest away from me to prevent binding and causing kickback. But what does kickback look like? Well, here the angle is in the opposite direction, with the offcut aiming towards me, so it can't escape easily and causes it to jump and potentially chip your wood or possibly cause an injury if you're too close. However, where the timber is long enough, the manual recommends to clamp both sides down, which prevented this. But for shorter pieces where you can't clamp both ends, I recommend getting into the habit of pointing your offcut away from you. Now, remember when I said a bevel cut shortens the cutting depth of a circular saw? Well, as this is 12mm thick wood and the guide rail for the saw is higher than the wood, you'll find the blade doesn't cut all the way through. So this is where you'll need to use the bevel risers. So now I've familiarised myself with all the different cuts on the machine, I actually want to use it to fit thresholds between 2 different types of floorings, some scotia beading, trims around the French doors, fireplace, and I've got some architrave to stick around my loft hatch. But first I'm going to start with a nice straight cross cut with some oak, and I need a measurement for this. 148.4 centimetres. This time I've got the machine on the floor to use the baby sawhorse, and I'm checking the laser guide with my pencil line. I think that's a decent cut. I'm gluing now. That looks good, that. Now I'm working on a twin threshold in oak, which relies on this plastic track. And that's one of the materials it cuts through, so let's see what it's like. Now for the oak threshold itself. That is a clean cut. To fit, I glued down the track, then slotted the oak threshold in and added weight for good contact while it's set. It also handled flat oak trim well, where I needed to cut a 45 to join 2 pieces to make it continuous because one of the trims weren't long enough. And it performed well with thicker oak beading too. although mine was wonky after treating it, so I'm masking taped around it and temporarily hot glued some packers on to act as clamps while the adhesive set. Now I'm going to do mitre cuts and some cross cuts around my hearth. So because I've got nothing to spare, I'm going to do my first mitre cut on the very end here. Now because the saw is pushing towards it and where it's tapered, the profile edge, that creates a weakness. So I'm going to show a little trick. So to prevent chipping my oak, what I've done is set up a sacrificial piece of wood there. So it's added some support and makes my trim less fragile when I cut it. Obviously that sacrificial piece has to be dead straight, otherwise it won't work. Next up is cutting 18mm thick MDF Architrave to fit around the loft hatch. So I'm also using 45-degree mitres here. For these I had to glue and add discrete nails in the profile detail to fix it in place because my architrave was much wider than the stud work in the loft and I didn't want to put screws in the curvy bits because it would be a nightmare to fill and blend in. Then mark where my last mitres need to be before cutting and fixing in place. So all my jobs are done apart from one, which is down here, and I need to rip down some pieces of wood to slot under here because actually, if you look closer, it's actually bare brick there underneath the threshold. And I've measured different points underneath and the smallest number I get is 18mm. And I thought it'd be perfect to test the track guide. So I've got lots of different offcuts from when we've done the parquet and the wide plank over there, but I've come across a limitation because I don't have the right size pieces of wood. And I can explain that here. In an ideal world, I'd have a really long, wide plank that I could keep ripping down and moving as I go to avoid the clamps, because obviously this would be in the way, and that would be for any compact saw, and I'd just undo it, shuffle it along, and continue back and forth. Now this offcut is obviously longer, and yes, that would technically work, but because I need to rip 18mm off quite a narrow piece of wood, I do run the risk of accidentally catching my Dremel box with the saw. So I don't want that either. So if you're in my situation, I'm going to show you something that I always do using a heavy piece of timber and some screws, and that will act as a clamp. Oh, and I finally get to test the multi-drill. So I'm going to sacrifice a little bit of that, and I'm pre-drilling about 2 or 3 holes. So I'm changing to a posi bit. By the time you get to the end of the cut, a lot of track saws are shy here, and so the very final bit is actually slightly off. That does not look off to me at all. This is the accuracy of the track saw guide. That's 18mm there. And if we rotate it, that's 18mm as well. So the accuracy of it was bang on. But before I fit these filler pieces, let's have a montage of other cuts that I needed to do to finish this job that I've been putting off for so long. Now let's take a look at the built-in stud finder on the multi-drill. Now it's one thing to test on my batten wall behind the TV, but that doesn't really prove how accurate it is. So to give it a fair test, I'm building a mock stud wall, which by the way, it drove drywall screws into the plasterboard without any effort. I accidentally left it in drill mode, but it was still easy to control without overdriving the screws. Once it was built, I marked out the stud positions on the front, ready to see how well the stud finder lines up. So when you push it against the wall, this button will depress and then it will calibrate, and you're meant to wait for the arrow signal asking you to move forward to detect your studs. Ooh, it's about 6 or 7mm too early. Keep going. And stops there. So as long as you stick to the centre of your marks, you should be fine. After several tests, I have to say this is probably one of the better stud finders I've used. It consistently picked up the stud positions. There was a slight discrepancy when it approached them, but nothing major, and certainly no phantom studs like others that have left me patching up holes. But what I really love though is the built-in laser level. It's lightweight enough to stick to the wall using the putty provided, and it's really easy to get it level or plumb. Perfect for all sorts of jobs like fitting shelves, adding battens for tiling, or positioning picture frames. I know it's going to save me the hassle of setting up my laser level tripod in the future, and the distance of it is surprisingly good too. The maximum I've found so far is 4.6 metres, which I'm sure is more than enough for most tasks around the house. So after putting the Dremel Blueprint tools through the paces, what's my verdict? Well, if you're short on space, you're just starting out, or like me, you prefer lightweight tools but you need accurate cuts, then the portable saw station could be a game changer. Personally, after all these years of using one, I'd now hate not having a compact saw, and the fact that it's like a mitre saw in a box and I can take it from room to room or job to job very easily is the icing on the cake. As for the multi-drill, I think the built-in stud finder and the laser level are genius additions, making it great for plasterboard or ceilings. But just remember, there's no hammer drill setting for masonry, but then I always use 2 drills anyway. One for the drilling and then one for the screwing. So I am sure I will be using this in the future. But I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are. Are these tools that you'd have in your tool shed or maybe under your bed? Anyway, in the meantime, I've got some gap filling and caulking to do. But hopefully this video has been useful and I'll catch you in my next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.